This extremely rare illusion is an example of a fata morgana. It's a mirage that causes the object to appear distorted due to bending rays of light. It can happen to any large distant object, including boats, buildings, and islands. It's also believed that this illusion created the myth of the Flying Dutchman. In 2012, French beekeepers couldn't solve the mystery of the blue and green colored honey in their beehives. After months of investigating, it was discovered that the bees were visiting a local factory that produces M&Ms. The Bajau people of Southeast Asia are often considered sea nomads. They have no homes, money, or nationalities, and they spend 60% of their life underwater. They can go spearfishing at depths greater than 200 feet without any scuba gear and have even developed much larger spleens than the average human to help them survive underwater. In 2008, the extremely rare Kashmir musk deer was spotted for the first time in nearly 60 years in a forest in Afghanistan. The species has been hunted to near extinction mostly due to its valuable scent glands, which can sell for over $20,000 per pound on the black market. This is the pyramid capstone of Amenemhat II, one of the only intact pyramidions in the world. Every Egyptian pyramid used to have a capstone like this one at the top, but nearly all have been stolen or destroyed over the years. On April 18, 1930, the BBC announced that there was no news today, and so they played piano music instead. By 2011, the red-crested tree rat had been extinct for 113 years until it casually appeared on the handrail of an eco-lodge in Colombia. They let researchers photograph it for 2 hours before disappearing into the night, never to be seen again. In 2012, archaeologists in Central Asia found a few fossilized bone fragments estimated to be over 90,000 years old. Genomic sequencing later revealed that they belong to a human that's completely unique from any specimen ever recorded. Her parents were two completely different species of human, her mother a Neanderthal and her father a Denisovan. Here's an aerial photograph of an uncontacted tribe in the Amazon rainforest ready to go to battle against a helicopter. This pic shows a Queen's Guard receiving some water outside the Buckingham Palace due to extreme heat. This is a rare and quite juicy New York strip. And finally, we have some colorized footage of the last known Tasmanian tiger Benjamin at the Hobart Zoo in 1936. The species officially went extinct when Benjamin was locked outside of his sleeping quarters on a cold Tasmanian night and froze to death. Some people are born with an extra hole in their ear called a preauricular pit. It's connected to an unusual sinus tract underneath the skin, which many scientists believe might be an evolutionary remnant of gills. If you're a big fan of natural bridge caverns, you can purchase this home in San Antonio, Texas for $875,000. The 2.5-acre property comes with 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and a well-maintained natural cavern in the backyard. Here's a pic of veteran racehorse Morstead wearing the world's only Harris tweed suit designed for a horse. Skirt steak. The world's only upside-down traffic light can be found in the Tippery Hill neighborhood of Syracuse, New York. It was made this way because in the early 1920s, the area was heavily populated by the Irish. These locals didn't want red, a color of the British flag, to be higher up than the Irish green. So they kept smashing the lights until a special one was finally made. Lydia Fairchild gave birth to 2 kids whose DNA didn't match her own. Prosecutors pressed to take the kids away and forced her 3rd birth to be closely monitored. When the 3rd child again didn't match up with her DNA, she was charged with benefits fraud until it was discovered that she actually carried 2 completely different sets of DNA. This means the 3 kids technically belong to her unborn twin sister. In the late 1800s, a baboon was employed as a signalman by a South African railroad. He was paid 20 cents per day and a half bottle of beer per week. During his 9-year career, he never once made a mistake. A boy born with just 2% of his brain completely defied doctors' predictions after it grew back to 80% the average size. Doctors had told the parents to terminate the pregnancy not once, not twice, but 5 times. He celebrated his 10th birthday earlier this year. This is the clearest and most recent photo ever taken on the surface of Venus. It was captured by a Soviet space probe in 1982, just before it was destroyed by the dense 900-degree atmosphere of the planet. This extremely rare calico lobster was caught in Maine just last month. Experts say only about 1 in every 30 million lobsters is colored this way. The fairy tale village of Heathorn in the Netherlands has no roads or cars. The only method of transportation is by boat. This here's a yummy, delicious, rare steak. Wall? In 2017, scientists began a global search to find a partner for Jeremy, an extremely rare left-coiled garden snail. Since his shell coiled in the opposite direction of most snails, his family jewels couldn't align with others. 2 candidates were eventually found out of millions of snails, but they proceeded to mate with each other instead of poor Jeremy. Gu Lagoon. This underwater river can be found in Mexico's Cenote Angelita. It's filled with hydrogen sulfide, which is more dense than salt water, creating a whole new layer of flowing water. The Onagadori is a historic Japanese breed of chicken known for its ridiculously long tail. It's considered to be a special national treasure of Japan since only about 250 exist. Diagonal witch windows exist almost exclusively in the state of Vermont. They come from a superstition that says witches can't fly their broomsticks through tilted windows. Under insanely rare circumstances, there's a chance that a roll cloud can turn spherical. This one was observed in Japan in 2016. Thought to be extinct for over 3 decades, the starry night harlequin toad was officially rediscovered in 2019. The unique-looking toad can only be found in a sacred location in the forests of Colombia. New Zealand broadcaster Orini Kaipara is the first TV journalist in the world with a face tattoo. It's a traditional face marking worn by female descendants of the Maori, the indigenous Polynesian people of what is now New Zealand. Here's a rare view of Niagara Falls when it was completely dried up in 1969 for the first time in 12,000 years. Knickers the Australian steer has been deemed too big to be slaughtered. Standing at 6'4" and weighing nearly 3,000 pounds, the cow is so massive that it wouldn't even fit in the butchering equipment. Sadly, this other cow wasn't so lucky since it was turned into a deliciously rare flank steak. In 2015, an 87-year-old Chinese woman visited doctors to address the 5-inch horn growing out of her forehead that began as a mole. It's made out of the same material as fingernails and can be easily trimmed down in the same way. It's extremely rare for axolotls to go through a phase called morphing where they lose their gills and webbed feet and essentially evolve into a land creature. But it still happens occasionally as a result of dormant genes from their ancestors, like what happened to this one named Gollum. Found only in the swamps of southern Missouri, dragon scale calcite looks like it came straight out of Game of Thrones. Someone accidentally deleted important photos from their camera, so an image recovery software brought them all back, including this test shot where the camera was assembled in China. This rare tomahawk steak appears to have been cooked to perfection. In certain parts of England, you can find these wavy brick fences. This shape actually uses fewer bricks than a normal brick wall, since it only requires 1 layer of bricks to make it sturdy thanks to the arch support provided by the wavy pattern. Out of the estimated 307 million lakes in the world, less than 30 of them are pink. The largest being Australia's Lake Hillier, which gets its natural bubblegum hue from a combination of red algae and bacteria. But the water is completely safe for humans to swim in. A sundog is an extremely rare weather phenomenon that produces bright spots around the sun. It happens when sunlight refracts off of ice crystals during perfect atmospheric conditions. There are over 38,000 McDonald's locations in the world, but only the one in Roswell, New Mexico is shaped like a UFO. This incredible award-winning photograph left scientists from all over the world completely astonished in 2018. At the very center of the image is a single atom suspended in motion by electric fields. What makes this photo so amazing is that it was captured with just an ordinary camera. Thomas Wetters was a circus performer in Yorkshire, England throughout the 18th century. He was famously known for having a 7.5-inch nose, which was confirmed by the Guinness Book of World Records to be the longest nose in history by more than double. This is the only known footage of the extremely rare box jellyfish known as Chirodectus. Captured off the coast of Papua New Guinea, this was only the second ever sighting of the species in recorded history. This rare beef tenderloin was slow roasted to perfection. In 1930, the Indiana Bell Building was completely rotated 90 degrees in just 1 month. The 22 million pound structure was moved 15 inches per hour while 600 employees still worked there. There was no interruption to gas, water, electricity, or telephone service, and no one inside felt the building move.